Marbogard and Yuri Tielemans, with three behind the man preferred at the top of the park in the shape of Tammy Abrahams, and that is Morgan Rogers, Ross Barkley and Jadon Sancho. Pretty strong bench for them as well, so they should line up with Bezo, Konza, Buendia, Watkins, Digne, Torres, Garcia, Louise and Bailey on the bench today. What of Spurs? What will they be looking for today? Well, I can tell you what they'll be looking for: 3 veritable points. And under the coach Roberto De Zerbi, they have got a lineup which is Antonin Kinski in goal, Pedro Porro, Kevin Danso, Mickey van der Ven and Destiny Udogi across the back from right to left. Rodrigo Bentancur and João Palhinha are the two holding midfielders, with Orlando Colomuani, Conor Gallagher, Matisse Tell and Richarlison leading the line. Their bench is as follows. It is Austin, Dragusin, Bissouma, Madison, Gray, Bergvall, Spence, Sarr and Souza. So there you are. They are up against it. Roberto De Zerbi will be looking his absolute best today to try and inspire his side. One thing I can say, that Villa haven't been in the best of form over the last few years, so we will keep an eye on that as we go through the game. He has been very much on the periphery of their last game as well, so let's just hope that at some point that kicks back in if you're an Aston Villa fan, and perhaps not today if you're a Spurs fan. Antonin Kinski is in goal after that what has to be awful game he had in goal recently, when he was put on and taken off very, very quickly in the Europa League game. It is all about the next 90 minutes. Spurs go into a huddle. The referee Sam Barrett today, he'll be hoping for a quiet afternoon, or an afternoon where we don't actually see him, as Paul Tierney is the man on the board on the touchline. Still though, we are getting ready for kick-off. Spurs will, by the looks of things, defend the goal away to my right-hand side in the first half. Aston Villa will defend the goal away to my left-hand side in the first half. And it will be a case of the Holt end trying to suck the ball into the back of the net in the second half for Aston Villa. Conor Gallagher stands over the ball, and he rolls it all the way back to Kinski. Kinski just outside his penalty area, away to my right-hand side, thumps a long ball forward. Easy head away by Tielemans. Porro picks the ball up 6 yards inside the Aston Villa half. Makes his way back into his own half, under pressure this time from Rogers, and plays all the way back to Kinski. Kinski in goal away, as I say, to my right-hand side. Long shadows cast across as the sun just dips a little bit on the lower side behind that goal away to my right-hand side. Casting shadows. Kinski plays it out near side to Van der Ven. Van der Ven back to Kinski. Backs off into his penalty area, some 4 or 5 yards. Looks to his right. He's got Danso, but makes his way out into the D of his own penalty area. Just kicking the ball forward, full playing it out to the right side of centre-half, Kevin Danso. Danso into a hole in the middle. Nice little ball round the corner by Palhinha. Long run over the top for Richarlison. Lindelof tracks him off, and the ball beats the pair of them away all the way through towards Emiliano Martinez, who just picks the ball up inside the penalty area in front of the Holt end away to my left-hand side. He's wearing more of a battleship or a gunmetal grey kit from top to bottom, flashes of luminous yellow on it before he rolls the ball out to the right side of centre-half Lindelof. Lindelof back now to Martinez. Martinez just by his penalty spot, rolls the ball forward to Barkley. It's cut out though rather easy by Bentancur. Richarlison gets it. What a superb challenge that is, coming in by, you guessed it, Yuri Tielemans, because Martinez ball out sold Aston Villa right up the Swanee there, and Spurs nipped onto it very, very quickly with Palhinha through to Richarlison. Just as he went to pull the trigger, as he touched it onto his right boot, Tielemans got back and towed it across. In fact, I think that should have been a goal kick in all honesty, because Tielemans got a toe and Richarlison kicked it. But we wait to see. It's going to be a corner on this near side in front of the Holt end, away to my left-hand side. Tell is about to whip this in. Martinez looks out to his right-hand side, down by the point of my left shoulder. Aston Villa under pressure in front of the Holt end. Matisse Tell Swings a deep one to the back post. Headed up but not away by Rogers. Rogers tries to go again. Trapped on the line. Ball goes out of play opposite side. Rogers has gone down. And he would have wrapped his leg around the body there of Joel Palinha at the back post, trying to get the ball away. This could be a telling little replay I get on my monitor here. But he's gone down, perhaps just opened up the outside of his knee, but he seems to be back on his feet pretty quickly. Goal away to my left-hand side. It has got to be Martinez that looks out to his left, which is the furthest corner away from me as I sit straddling the halfway line. Holt end to my left. Curled away from goal. Up go the heads, brought down by Danzo, smothered on by Martinez. And Aston Villa avert any crisis here inside the 3rd minute. Matthew Cash at the moment, he's got an absolute clattering. Picks himself up before it's thrown. It's bowled long to Sancho, who runs down the side of this near side of the penalty area now. Trying to twist and turn away from Destiny Udogie. Gets away from him, tries to play it back, comes off the feet of Matisse Dell. It's going to be a throw to Aston Villa. Level with the 18-yard box of Spurs away to my right-hand side. Cash comes forward to take it. Elects not to use the ball on the pitch and goes for a dry one on one of the practice cones that the balls are sighted up around the edge of the touchlines here at Villa Park, and in doubt most Premier League games. Thrown in by Cash, headed on by Abrahams. No, just underneath it, clears his head and goes away for a goal kick away to my right-hand side, and it's going to be a chance now for Spurs to drive the ball forward. Goes forward, comes out of play, throw to Cash. Cash throws it back into Lindelof. Lindelof 6 yards outside his own penalty area, away to my left, plays it back to Martinez. Martinez this time just wanders into the D of his own penalty area in front of the Holt end away to my left-hand side. Just dribbling it out, 6 yards, 7 yards. Wants some movement in front of him. Just made a rick from kicking the ball from the deck, but he's just ambling out. Not a lot of pace in the game at the moment as Martinez swings the ball out to the right side of centre-half Lindelof. 12 yards shy of the halfway line. Sends the ball back to Martinez on the D of his own penalty area, away to my left-hand side in front of the Holt end. Still has the ball at his feet. Comes forward a little bit further. This time a little drag back into the feet of Bogart. Bogart round the corner into the feet of Barkley. Barkley tries to spin away from Danzo, loses out inside the centre circle on the Villa side of the pitch. Tell plays it out near side to Udogie. Udogie has a little give and go in the middle of the park this time with Palinha. Back it comes to Bentancur. Bentancur to Udogie. Back to Mickey van der Ven. Mickey van der Ven, 6 yards inside his own half. Plays it down this near side where Destiny Udogie wants to roll his foot over the top and play it down the line, but it goes out of play. Off of the feet of Tell for the throw to Aston Villa. Both sides looking a little nervy here. We've had 5 minutes already. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0 here in this massive game for both sides. If it stayed like this, Aston Villa would climb to 4th, a point in front of Liverpool, lost earlier this afternoon to Manchester United by 3-2. Lindelof to Cash. Cash back to Lindelof. Lindelof level with his own 18-yard box for Aston Villa away to my left-hand side into the penalty area of Martinez. High press here by Spurs. Played square this time to Mings. Mings out on the far side to Maatsen. Maatsen slides it past his man into the feet of Rogers, but Spurs have won it back just outside the 18-yard box of Aston Villa away to my left-hand side. Palinha rolls the ball back into Mickey van der Ven's feet inside the centre circle on the Aston Villa side of the pitch. Out on this near side to the left back, Udogie down the left touchline to Tell. Udogie goes for the underlapping run. Will he keep it in play? Not sure he did. Ball has pinged around. Sam Barrett has elected that the ball has gone out for a goal kick. It's very touch and go from where I'm sat, but I am an awful long way away from the action per se. Going to get a replay on the monitors we're afforded here down to the side, and I would say that just about went out of play on the far side of the pitch when Udogie was trying to keep it in. Goal kick to Aston Villa in front of the Holt end away to my left-hand side. Spurs fans in fine voice, taking short Mings back to Martinez. Martinez wanders to the edge of his 18-yard box away to my left-hand side in front of the Holt end here at Villa Park. Sunshine only bathing a diagonal line from just about inside the Aston Villa half across to the far corner. The ball's driven up to Tammy Abrahams. He shows too much of it. Gets taken off his toes rather easy this time by Palinha. Spurs have coughed up possession on the halfway line. Martin's going square from left to right, plays it across to the right back. Cash, 6 yards inside his own half. Cash wants some movement in front of him, waits for Sancho to go outside of him, does so. He's only just inside the half. Up it goes from Sancho to Abraham. Abraham back to Barkley. Barkley gets it back to Sancho. Sancho clips it out on the far side. Chance for Morgan Rogers to get the ball down. Takes his eye off it, bounces over his foot and goes out of play. Unai Emery realising there's a little bit of nerves out there for Aston Villa at the moment. Just trying to keep his troops up to the task. Far side of the pitch, level with their own 18-yard box. Pedro Porro has the ball in his hands. Throws it into the feet this time of Gallagher. Back to Porro. Given away by Spurs. And then a break on the far side. Good break on the far side as well. This time Koulibaly is held up by Yuri Tielemans. And it's going to be a free kick down that far touchline. Almost up to the technical areas to the right of the halfway line on the far side of the pitch. Roberto De Zerbi applauds his side's action. Ball goes back into his own half for Danzo. Spurs defend the goal away to my right. Square this time to Mickey van der Ven, and then back to Kinski. Kinski plays it past Abraham and picks up the feet this time of Paulinho. Big raking crossfield ball. Cash has got to get there. Tell does get there, but his first touch allows Cash to take it off his toes and run back towards the dead ball line in front of the Holt end away to my left. Lindelof gets it inside. Cash tidies up and the ball breaks to Lamar Bogard. He's on the charge forward, being tracked all the time by Gallagher. Short pass to Tielemans. Gallagher breaks things up. Good work by Lamar Bogard. Toes the ball away from Richarlison into the feet of Matthew Cash, the right back for Villa, 12 yards outside his penalty area. Square from Lindelof to Mings. Mings into the hole for Bogard. Bogard to Tielemans, back to Mings, and Mings still on the edge of his 18-yard box away to my left as I straddle the halfway line here. Straight ball up to the feet of Barkley, flick round the corner, give and go with Abrahams, and then played again by Barkley out on this near side, looking for Sancho, won't get there, ball runs out of play. Ushered out of play, I have to say, by Destiny Udogie, but clever play through the centre, up into Abrahams, back to Barkley, and first time layoff down this right-hand side, just a little too strong for Sancho to get onto it. Bentancur, edge of his own box, plays the ball back to Kinski. Kinski out to Paulinho. Paulinho turns, plays it out far side, this time to Porro. Porro 12 yards shy of the halfway line, back into his own half to 6 yards away from his own penalty area where Kevin Danso takes over. And look to play it square to Van der Ven. Van der Ven here in the 10th minute. Aston Villa 0, Spurs 0. No real chances for either side at the moment. Danso. Porro down the line. Little flick round the corner by Koulibaly. Cleared this time forward by Mings. But again, not real any accuracy in it, and goes into the Spurs penalty area away to my right hand side. Van der Ven tidies up, starts moving out of his penalty area, and he slowly, about 2 yards, goes square to Danso. Danso 2 yards outside the Spurs penalty area, away to my right hand side, comes forward, 12 yards now, 14 yards. Plays it back to the left-sided man Van der Ven. Van der Ven's got options just out to his left, but goes back to his right to Danso. Danso across to Porro. Porro 15 yards shy of the halfway line, up to the halfway line. Turn round the corner this time. Koulibaly trying to run in behind. Mings gets across. Martinez comes out and gets himself in no man's land. Mings tidies up and puts the ball out of play on the far side. Miscommunication between Mings and Martinez. But the ball has gone away on the far side. John McGinn missing today. Sat in the stands, just checking the live score update on his phone. I realise it's still goalless here after 11.5 minutes. Danzo comes forward to take a long throw, to put a lot of purchase from Martinez's left, in the goal away to my left, in front of the Holt end. Danzo's going to put a lot of purchase on this ball, try and launch it in towards that front post. To the line he comes, arches his back, launches it in, should be easy to be headed away, is by Tielemans, brought down by Gallagher, lovely touch by Gallagher, first time shut down, what a goal by Kevin Gallagher, that is 12 minutes on the clock, brought it down, it's a sublime first touch, and then from 22 yards has rifled the ball into the bottom right hand corner of Martinez's net. Gallagher opens the scoring with a fine strike from 22 yards out after the header came out. He really has got hold of that. Conor Gallagher this time picking up his first goal of the season for Spurs. really was a time to find the first goal of the season. Made 13 appearances, just the one assist before today. The 26-year-old rifling the ball into the back of the net. Absolutely priceless. It was headed out, brought down on the instep of his left boot, his right boot, and then just rolled it in to the bottom corner of Martinez's net. Slightly unsighted, but Aston Villa again from another tardy start for Unai Emery's side. Martinez slightly unsighted, but really couldn't have been a better place for Conor Gallagher to put it into. His touch took it away from Abrahams. It's got to be 22, 24 yards out, and really was an excellent finish by Conor Gallagher. Ball is back in play. Aston Villa just outside their own penalty area, away to my left-hand side. They will be stung by that. They had an absolute purple spell in around Christmas, but the wheels somewhat fell off in the second half of the season. Not drastically, but bad enough. If not as good as it was. You can't win 13 out of 15 without ultimately finding yourselves in a little bit of problems. This would put West Ham down into the bottom three if this result was to stay the way it is. But we are only in the 14th minute here at Villa Park. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 1. Tottenham with a far superior goal difference to West Ham United, some 10 goals better off. Near side, Lindelof to Cash. Cash 12 yards inside the Aston Villa half. Plays it back to Lindelof. Aston Villa have got to try and find some momentum. Ball back to Martinez, just outside his own penalty area. This time goes long, looking for the run on the far side of the pitch there with Rodgers. Headed away by Danzo. Paulinho gets the ball down. Cuts inside, tries to play it inside. Spurs try and go round the corner. Now the run for Kolo Muani, trying to run in behind Mings. Mings goes across, goes to floor, pushed down, foul given. And Aston Villa, 19 times they've conceded from set plays. It's a long throw and again that wasn't really cleared. Lindelof, ball at his feet, 12 yards outside the Aston Villa penalty area, away to my left-hand side. Back to Mings. Mings 18 yards inside his own half, square to Lindelof. Lindelof got a lot of praise from Harry Maguire at Manchester United. Said he just goes about his job really well. Such a sound player to play with. Back to Cash. Cash down the line looking for Sancho. Sancho tries to let the ball roll over his shoulder, but it doesn't. A doggy takes it off his toes and comes forward for Spurs. Midway in the Spurs half, down the line into Tell's feet. Tell back to Van der Ven. Van der Ven level with his own 18-yard box, away to my right-hand side. 15 on the clock. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 1. Conor Gallagher 12 minutes, 24 yards out. Headed clearance from a long throw into the box. Brought down on his right foot and then rolled into the bottom corner from 24 yards into Martinez's bottom corner in front of the Holt end. Nicely finished. Danzo's gone down on a heap. Being caught late this time by Tammy Abrahams, who tries to atone for his misplaced boot by saying I'm sorry to the Spurs centre half. Abraham preferred in attack to Oliver Watkins today. Danzo's back on his feet, plays it square to Van der Ven. Van der Ven, left foot ball, looking for a long ball over the head of the right back, brought down by Tell. Tell cuts inside of Cash. Cash falls. Tell clips the ball forward, looking for Richarlison, headed away by Lindelof, comes back to Matisse Tell, who tries to go outside of Lamar Bogard. He breaks things up and Cash comes forward. Barkley with a toe in. They're getting a run right forward, I'd say, in the middle of the park for Aston Villa. Paulinho there far too strong, got the ball back to Van der Ven, back to Paulinho, and now back to Danzo. Spurs certainly very combative with their midfield too, in the shape of Paulinho and Bentancur. As the ball goes back from Van der Ven to Kinski. Kinski inside the D of his own penalty area, thumps a long ball forward. Lindelof clears, ball falls at the feet of Richarlison. Short pass this time to Gallagher. Gallagher out to Kolo Muani. Kolo Muani now taking on Maatsen. Into the box, goes square, cleared by Tyrone Mings just on the edge of the 6-yard box. Chance for Paulinho to rifle it back, and he's hit the inside of the post from at least 25-30 yards. And the ball comes out on this near side, and the flag goes up for offside. But again, João Paulinho has fizzed a shot in from fully 25, maybe even further out than that. The ball was cleared by Mings. Paulinho at least 28 yards out, and it's across the face of the goal. Martinez down to his right-hand side, couldn't get to it, hit the inside of Martinez's right post, but came out. And that Spurs man was then offside, picking it up. But it's Spurs with a goal with the woodwork still reverberating. Putting it to Aston Villa, who, again, for a side in the top 5, I think for the first time in a long time, Unai Emery's possibly looking at a side that maybe just need a little bit of reinvention. Where will he find it? Will he find it on the bench? That is the question. Paulinho, back into his own half, 15 yards into his own half to Danso across to the left-sided centre-half, Van der Ven out on this near side to Tell tries to get away from Cash, ball goes squirting off Cash's legs all the way back towards the Spurs penalty area, away to my right-hand side where Van der Ven plays it back to Antonin Kinski into the feet of Bentancur, stab back to Kinski inside his own penalty area. With a left foot, smites the ball up and over the halfway line. Lindelof wins a header. They fall nicely this time at the feet of Rogers. Rogers to Tielemans. Tielemans caught late by Richarlison off the ball. Sam Barrett says, we'll have a free kick, but don't do that again. It's a little bit testy from Richarlison. Just left a little bit on. The second time he's done that now. Done it to Mings just moments ago. They're showing fight, and they're just kicking somebody. And I think that comes into the category of just kicking somebody, in fairness. Free kick to Aston Villa. Yuri Tielemans, 3 yards inside the Aston Villa half. Rolls it up to the feet of Rogers. Rogers, so under pressure straight away. Spurs have won it back. Breaks to Richarlison, who this time on the halfway line falls down under the pressure of Lamar Bogard. Richarlison gets up and says, oh, that's got to be something more than just a telling off. But at the moment, it is the Italian, Roberto De Zerbi, who is leading the Spanish Unai Emery. Man, a little bit of a merry dance. If only Unai Emery could play, I'm pretty sure he'd put himself out there at the moment. Really could do with a John McGinn character at the moment, just to drive them on. Ball on this near side to Van der Ven. Van der Ven up to the halfway line. First time lay off by Gallagher back to Bentancur. Bentancur 7 yards inside the half of Spurs, which is to the right of the halfway line. Out on the far side to Paulinho to Danso to Mickey Van der Ven out to Matisse Telner. Chance for him to turn, cuts inside of the covering man and plays it inside from Sancho. Spurs hold the ball some 8 yards inside the Aston Villa half, which is to the left of the halfway line. 20 on the clock. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 1. Goal scored on 12 minutes from 24 yards by Conor Gallagher. It's first for Spurs since he's joined to go with his 1 assist in the Premier League. 14th appearance for them. At the moment, Villa trying to find a way back in. Rogers up to the feet of Barkley. Barkley out on the far side to Maatsen. Maatsen goes charging forward, cut out by Danso, who stood his ground. And Bobby Moore just stood still as Pele came towards him and then put a toe in. Terrific work, but Spurs now breaking forward. Colin Mwani driving forward. Outside of him to his right will be Gallagher. Gallagher now forced right. Plays the ball across the face of goal. Excellent toe by Cash just as Matisse Tell was about to pull the trigger with a volley. He gets the ball back and rolls it back to the left back Udogie. Udogie and Paulinho exchange passes, and Paulinho now 12 yards inside the half of Aston Villa. It's really Spurs that are on the front foot here. Aston Villa very timid, one would say, in front of their home fans here. Poto back to Danso. Danso back to the halfway line to Van der Ven. Van der Ven, short ball through a lovely hole. Picks out the feet this time with Udogie. Udogie out to Tell. Tell 6 yards from the dead ball line of Aston Villa. Rolls it back. Little step over by Udogie. Poto thought about shooting left-footed. Plays it onto his right. Plays out to Colin Mwani. And the ball's played into the Aston Villa box where it's cleared by Jadon Sancho. Into the feet of Abrahams. Abrahams thought he was fouled. Nothing doing, says the referee Sam Barrett. And Spurs rather having an easy time on the football at the moment. Udogie down the line to Tell. Tell being held up by Cash. Back it goes to Destiny Udogie. Udogie infield and back into his own half to Van der Ven. 6 yards inside his own half and plays the ball back this time to Kinski. Kinski across to Van der Ven. 18 yards inside the Spurs half. One midway, I'd say. Infield to Paulinho. Paulinho turns around and faces the right back Danso and plays it along the floor to Danso's feet. Back to João Paulinho. And João Paulinho across to Van der Ven. Makes his way up and over the halfway line. 6 yards, 12 yards inside the half of Villa. Out onto this left-hand side to Tell. Tell runs into the body that is Cash. Comes off at Cash. It is a throw-in to Spurs. Tell throws it back to the halfway line where he picks out Palhinha. Palhinha into the feet of Bentancur. Aston Villa just standing off at the moment, not engaging with players. They're just 2 or 3 yards off, and they're in that no man's land position, which is, as the ball goes into a Spurs feet, by the time they get there, one, they're going to give away a foul, or two, be turned, so they don't know where to actually be. They need to be a little closer, one would say, if I was a manager, closer to the action, because Spurs at the moment are playing the ball around rather nicely. It's back in their own half at the moment, Spurs, which is to the right of the halfway line as they defend the goal away to my right. But they are just knocking the ball around with no real pressure on the ball at all. Van der Ven just stood there, plays it to Palhinha. Palhinha square, 12 yards inside his own half, out to his right hand side. Porro down the line to Colomboani. Back inside it goes to Porro on the halfway line, and back to Danzo across the Mickey Van der Ven. Spurs are leading by a goal to nil at the moment, and I've seen so much of the football in the last 5 minutes. It's pretty impressive. Ball goes back to Kinski, and again Villa are a good 10 yards off the keeper, and he's got time to measure his ball forward, and he's put a long one forward, looking for the run of Udogie. Headed away by Lindelof, put straight to Tell. Tell inside to Gallagher, back out on this near side to Tell. Tell whips it into the box, real chance for Richarlison, back post coming in, and fired in by Colomboani, and turned up and over the bar this time by Martinez. Aston Villa, well, you'd have to ask which side in the top three, in the top five, and which one's in the bottom three, really, the way this game is going, because it certainly doesn't look as though it is tottering Hotspur. It is Tottenham Hotspur, and Martinez up and over the bar for the third corner of the first half, going the way of Spurs. Down in front of the Holt end. Once again, it's got to be Martinez in that goal. Looks out to his left-hand side. Furthest corner away, far side of the pitch. Matisse Tell curls it away from goal. Clips off one head, comes out. Shot goes in by Danzo. Blocked this time by the legs of Cash. Back at it goes to Udogie. Udogie takes it back on the far side to Tell. Tell cuts inside of Maatsen. Crosses the ball in. Easy goal. Richarlison gets his 10th of the season. It's another one. 25. Richarlison. And if anybody's upset with anything here, and apart from the defensive work by Aston Villa, it's going to be West Ham United, because what a time to turn in a 3-0 defeat at Brentford yesterday, when a cross comes in. A fine header by Richarlison pops the ball into the back of the net for what is his 10th Premier League goal of the season. And Aston Villa fans are looking around and wondering exactly what is going on here. This is not in the script. Sam Barrett's going to have a few words. The ball was played out this time to Matisse Tell. He cut inside and fizzed a cross in. Richarlison well onside, got goal side of Cash and in behind Lindelof. And just had a free header from a cross by Matisse Tell. Oh, he's just buried it in from 7 yards. He just had to redirect it. Martinez had no chance whatsoever. 2-0 Roberto De Zerbi. Well, I can't quite believe what I'm seeing here, because Spurs are playing like a different side. And West Ham United fans will be looking at their claret and blue associated side and thinking, you've got to do something better than this, because life is looking rather shaky back there, because all of a sudden what looked like before today's game, 4 hard games for Spurs. Well, they're 2 up away at Villa. They got Leeds at home next, and then Everton at home. That could be the real difference as we look at the run. It's funny how we're looking at the foot of the table and not looking at the top, because I think Aston Villa's game plan at the moment is a little bit in tatters. And Unai Emery, he would have been sticking and twisting. They've got to play Nottingham Forest in the second leg of the semi-final next week, trailing by a goal to nil. But, well, they have made some changes, but they haven't really made any inroads on this side at all. Palhinha gets the ball back, and all of a sudden the Aston Villa substitutes are out. Luca Digne is out. Buendia is out. Ollie Watkins is out. The long ball over the top. Colomboani couldn't get onto it, so it's got to be a goal kick. But whether Unai Emery really will worry about taking and making some changes early on, I don't know. He needs to fire something, a little bit of something into this Aston Villa side, because they are just, at the moment, meandering through this game, trailing by 2-0. That's been a yellow card for Randall Kolo Muani. As Villa try and get the ball to Rodgers. Rodgers manages to get the ball inside, but Bogarde's taken off his toes midway inside the Villa half. Richarlison out on his near side to Tell. Tell rolls it back to the left back, Udogie. Udogie into the feet this time of Polina. Polina cross to Van der Ven, to Danzo and back. Reports reaching us that Sir Alex Ferguson has been taken unwell before the game this afternoon. We'll try and find a little bit more about that as we go through the afternoon if we can. Good work, Bentancur through into a lovely pocket, steps away from Tielemans who drags him back. Ball's played out on the far side. Porto plays it infield. Back out on the far side it goes to Bentancur. Gallagher back to Danzo. Danzo across the middle of the park to Van der Ven on the halfway line. Van der Ven going forward. Ball goes back to the halfway line. Into the feet this time of Porto. Porto back to Danzo. Danzo across to Porto. Porto on the halfway line. Short ball forward into the feet of Bentancur. Round the corner this time to Gallagher. First time layoff to Porto. Porto fires that out to Kolo Muani. Kolo Muani with a deep cross across the face of goal. Tell brings it down on the near side. Plays it back into the feet of Polina. Polina to Van der Ven. Van der Ven to Danzo. Danzo 8 yards inside the half of Aston Villa and trailed by 2-0 here. 30 minutes on the clock. Aston Villa 0, Spurs 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Gallagher after 12 minutes, a strike from 24 yards, and on 25 minutes a Matisse Tell cross headed in by Richarlison. Where were the Aston Villa defenders? That is the question. So it is, as I say, 30 on the clock. Oh, what a lunge that is in the middle of the park by Conor Gallagher on Yuri Tielemans. I know they want to get pretty close to the players here, which is something I've complained about Aston Villa players not being that close, but I have to say that Conor Gallagher is a very lucky boy there because he's got absolutely nowhere near the ball. I think he slipped in going to get to the ball, but either way Aston Villa are back in possession of the football. Tielemans ran the hole up to Abrahams. Abrahams tries to play it left hand side, but it's too long, too strong and misplaced. Tammy Abraham's experiment at the top of the park at the moment not really working for Unai Emery, and it must be so tempting to bring on your league stalwarts here. Got a very glum face as midway inside the Spurs half. Porto throws it into the feet of Polina, back to Porto, back to Danzo. Danzo deep in his own half, lifts it up towards the halfway line from my right to my left, headed forward by Lindelof. Tielemans round a corner, lovely layoff by Barkley. Barkley finds Sancho, but Sancho isn't wide on the wing. He's in the middle of the Spurs half, plays it out to the right back Cash. Cash now, back inside to Barkley. Barkley just takes his time, back out to Sancho. Sancho now. Lovely footwork to get around Tell, plays it back this time to Bogarde and back out to Cash. Cash back to Lamar Bogarde, 12 yards outside the Spurs penalty area away to my right. Short ball infield to Lindelof. Lindelof across to Mings. Mings across this time to Rodgers. Rodgers waits for the overlap from Maatsen. Tries to get away from Kolo Muani. He's done really well, Rodgers, this time. Spins. Gets it into Maatsen. Maatsen tries to go again. This time going down. I thought there was a foul on Rodgers. Sam Barrett didn't. And he's the man that matters because he's got the whistle. Not me. Tyrone Mings. Ball at his feet. 18 yards outside the 18-yard box. The Spurs away to my right-hand side. Back to Lindelof, out to Bogarde. Bogarde out to Cash. Cash love with the 18-yard box of Spurs. Plays it infield to Ross Barkley. Barkley this time drags it across the face of the 18-yard box, going from right to left. Richarlison waits, poaches the ball off his toes, gets it back to Mings, inadvertently. Mings to Lindelof and across again to Bogarde. Cash down his touchline to Sancho. Sancho tries to put the ball in behind the fullback Udogie and has to put it so far in front of the player that it's gone straight out of play for a goal kick. Not the greatest performance by Aston Villa by any stretch of the imagination, and it is what I can only say a very, very frustrating game at the moment for Aston Villa fans to be sitting and watching, because it has been very, very different in what I anticipated and what most people anticipated, I would say. Ball's back in play with Lindelof up to the halfway line. Right in the corner it goes this time from Sancho to Cash. Cash on this near side. Plays it this time back to Lindelof. Lindelof to Mings. Mings bypasses Maatsen and finds Rodgers. Rodgers comes back inside. Towed away from him by Kolomwani. Rodgers tries to get away again. Kolomwani gets a foot in. Throw on the far side of the pitch this time to Aston Villa. Thrown back by Maatsen to Mings. Mings a good 24 yards outside that penalty area of Spurs. And to the left of the central point of the pitch. Plays it into the feet of Barkley. Barkley back to Lindelof. Lindelof wants it, and so does Barkley. Slip forward again. Good chance here for Rodgers to pull the trigger. Couldn't get it away. Palhinha gets back. Goes down under a pressure. Morgan Rodgers just caught as he was trying to play that ball forward. And couldn't quite get the ball away ultimately. Free kick on the edge of the Spurs penalty area away to my right hand side. Taking their time here. Waved away by Anthony Kinski after Danzo looked as though he was going to take it. We're into the 35th minute here. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Yes, if you have just joined us, it is Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. A game that Tottenham had to win, and they're winning. Conor Gallagher on 12 minutes from 24 yards into the bottom corner of Martinez's net in front of the hold end. Followed up on 25 minutes with a superb header. Well, fairly straightforward routine header, I should say, by Richarlison from a Matisse Tell cross into the box. Ball over the top. Running in behind this time again was Tell. Couldn't quite reach the ball, but wasn't far off it. Wasn't far off it at all. Through to Martinez it goes. What can Aston Villa do before the break? That is the question. Far side of the pitch, Maatsen forced backwards again. Spurs are very, very hungry for the football, and loose touches there by Lamar Bergard. Played forward again by Spurs, Richarlison. Ball breaks to Kolomwani, fires a shot high over the top of the crossbar, away to my left-hand side. And once again, we have the Spurs player down. Bentancur was caught late this time. As the ball went away, ball is going to come back in play. Picking himself up, ball is back in play now with Martinez. Martinez gets the ball back from Mings. Far side of the pitch, Spurs trying to wend their way down. Ball over the top, offside. Given away on the far side. Still, Unai Emery looks on impassively on the far side of the pitch. 37 on the clock. His side trail by 2 goals to 0. Not insurmountable, and no doubt Spurs will have eggshell confidence, although you have to say at the moment they're playing pretty much brimful with confidence here. Roberto De Zerbi has done the business. Lindelof out to Cash. Cash near side down the line to Sancho. Sancho, well, not strong enough there. Get on the weights, they would say in the changing rooms there. As a doggy gets the ball out to Tell. Tell skids Cash. He's into the box of Aston Villa down by the dead ball line. Well, what a terrible left-footed cross that is by Matisse Tell. Got the wrong club out of the back there. Wanted to just sort of clip it across the face of goal, but got the sandwich out and is well up over the bar into the stand away to my left-hand side, which is the hold end. Still, though, it is Spurs that are taking it to their hosts here Well, Roberto De Zerbi's half-time team talk must be pretty much set in stone at the moment, although he'll need to chivvy his side on, because he won't just want to go in there and say more of the same, please. He'll want to try and just make them work a little harder. Barkley loses out after a poor touch from Sancho. Tell all the way back to the edge of the Spurs penalty area, away to my right-hand side. Van der Ven square to Danzo. Danzo out down that far side to Kolo Muani. Turns it inside, finds Palhinha. Palhinha with a right to left ball will find Matisse Tell. Gets the ball down, chance to run at Cash. Checks, goes back to the halfway line. Little short pass to Bentancur. Bentancur back to Van der Ven. Van der Ven just on the ball. Again, no pressure for us to win on the football. Trying to waste 4 or 5 seconds before passing it across to Porro. You might say, why 4 or 5 seconds? But do that sort of 10 or 12 times. That's a minute of the game. You're giving yourself no chance to actually get on the ball. 8 attempts for Spurs, 4 on target. So many for Aston Villa that it hasn't registered. Duck eggs for both. No attempts and no shots on target for Aston Villa at the moment. Palhinha, Porro, Danzo just outside his penalty area, back into his goal area to Kinski. Kinski, left foot ball from my right up to the halfway line. Big Pavel headed by Lindelof, finds Rodgers midway inside the half of Spurs. He tries to feed it through this time for Barkley, doesn't get it through. Good defensive work by Bentancur. Porro, then Bentancur to Richarlison to Kolo Muani, fouled this time by Martsen. Martsen's not too impressed with that decision. And again, Spurs struggling. Aston Villa struggling to actually pick up any pieces in this game. 40 on the clock here in the first half, in a game that Spurs needed to win and Aston Villa needed to win. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. What an afternoon it is to be a Spurs fan, although that ball from Danzo wasn't the best one for Van der Ven, who has to scurry away to his near touchline in front of the Spurs fan. And the lower tier of the stand that the camera vantage point is in. Plays it back to Kinski. Kinski with a long ball up, headed down by Lindelof. Middle of the park. Good strong work by Matisse Tell, but Aston Villa pick up the pieces. Sancho tries to thread the eye of a needle. Now leaves Matson in a bit of a hole there. Muani gets the ball away, gets it back to Porro. Porro breaking forward, 12 yards outside the Aston Villa penalty area. Where to my left, plays it out to his right to Kolo Muani. Kolo Muani sets the ball back now. Infield it goes to Palhinha. Palhinha, 12 yards outside the Aston Villa penalty area, away to my left-hand side. Spurs knocking the ball around again. Villa don't look as though they really have the wherewithal to get the ball back off of this Spurs side. Down that far touchline, Muani back. Porro inside to Danzo. Danzo round the corner and down the line to Kolo Muani. Chance for him to run at Matson, goes outside Matson, 12 yards from the dead ball line, 6 yards. Good defensive work this time by Yuri Tielemans. Tielemans hasn't got a claret and blue shirt to get to, has to play it back under pressure to Matson. Richarlison is running around and harrying everybody before the ball breaks out of play off of Richarlison for a throw to Aston Villa deep in their own territory. And again, it's very, very poor football from Aston Villa, not the sort of football we're anticipating from Aston Villa, and I should think that the half-time whistle could be rounded with a deafening silence from the Villa faithful. Everything they try doesn't come off because it's never looked like coming off, and sometimes they're just not being in connection with the game, if that makes sense. You know, they're just standing off Spurs a little too much for your commentators' liking. Palhinha through a hole. Bentancur tries to get it off, blocked by Tielemans, rolls to Muani. Muani 4 yards inside the Villa half, back into the Spurs half, which is to the right to the halfway line to Danzo. Danzo to Bentancur. Bentancur to Palhinha. Palhinha looks for a right to left ball. Again, it's destiny a dog eat near side. Brings it down. Rolls it in front of Sancho to Gallagher. Gallagher back to the halfway line to Van der Ven. Van der Ven square to Danzo. Just no pressure on the football here from Aston Villa. Danzo across to Palhinha to Porro. Porro down the line to Kolo Muani, who gets inside of two. Villa players just bounce off him as he drives into the box down the far side, crosses it across the back post. Tell is there, gets a header back from Udogie, slices the ball across the face of goal and away this time. But again, it's Spurs that look the more promising of the two sides. It looks like Spurs are at home here at the moment, whilst Aston Villa look as though they're the away side. And it looks as though Spurs are in the top 5 and Aston Villa are in the bottom 3. Udogie kept it in. Tell span on it, He sliced it horribly across the face of goal. One more goal and it could be curtains for the evening for Aston Villa. They really do need the half-time break, and Unai Emery really does need to rejig the personnel, you feel, of the Aston Villa side. Whether they've got a second leg against Nottingham Forest at Villa Park next week or not. Danso clears the ball out near side. Matisse Tell up to the halfway line. Into the half of Aston Villa, which is to the left of the halfway line. Back to Udogie. Udogie back to Van der Ven. Van der Ven lets it run across his body from his left foot to his right and rolls it all the way back to his keeper, Kinski. Kinski drags the player close. Abraham slides it past him to Danso. Danso comes away with the football and finds Paulinho. Paulinho, crossfield ball, 12 yards outside his penalty area to the left-sided centre-half Van der Ven. He now presses it down and comes forward. Short ball infield again. Bentancur to Paulinho. Paulinho almost up to the halfway line. And Spurs sort of shape to go down the right and open up the left, if that makes sense. There's always space on this near side for Matisse Tell should they want to do the 40-yard cross-field. Gallagher, first goal scorer, turns it back to Kinski inside the Spurs penalty area away to my right-hand side. We're into the 44th minute. Going to be a few minutes added on at the end of this first period. And Unai Emery has got a few problems to solve because it's been tepid from Aston Villa in this first half. Whilst Spurs cannot have expected a better 45. Kolo Muani does well to get the ball to Poto. Poto into Richarlison. Feeds it out first time looking for Kolo Muani. First person there is Mings to turn it back from 30 yards back to his keeper Martinez away to my left hand side. Mings square as he received the ball from Martinez to Lindelof. Lindelof again wants options in front of him. Slips it through a hole into the feet this time of Rodgers. Again, Morgan Rodgers totally on the periphery of the game at the moment. Gets it to Bogard. Bogard up to Sancho. Sancho back to Bogard. Bogard upended this time in the middle of the park. Quick yellow cards popped out to Rodrigo Bentancur, who gets himself a yellow. Second Spurs player to get a yellow in his first half. Can Aston Villa find a way back in before the end of the first period? Well, the chances are there's only 14 seconds left of the first period as I look down at my clock, and we wait to see how many minutes are going to be added on at the end of the first period. And Jadon Sancho has a free kick which he's going to try and put up to the edge of the Spurs penalty area away to my right-hand side. Sancho tries to measure the ball. Spurs hold line 4 yards outside that penalty area. Aston Villa in a line just offside, but they'll have to drop back here. Sancho delivers, looking round the back for Abrahams. Headed away this time by Danso. Mings' arm was up in the air. Referees spotted a little touch, and we've got a minute to be added on at the end of this first 45 here at Villa Park. And it's a minute in which Unai Emery's really got to collect his thoughts. Now, does he go in, chuck the teapots and the teacups around and throw things around and show his distaste and displeasure? Or does he manage to have a plan up his sleeve to change things around? The Villa fans heading for their half-time drinks already, and time is not actually over here at Villa Park for this first 45. Still, though, the Spurs fans in fine voice. They lead by 2-0, but they know this is far from a foregone conclusion. So long from my right to my left, the half-time whistle goes, and at the break here at Villa Park, it's Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Goals by Conor Gallagher on 12 and Richarlison on 25 separate the two sides. Do join me for the second half. Hello and welcome back to live commentary of a must-win game for both of these sides, but it seems like only one side seems to want to win after the first 45 minutes have elapsed here at Villa Park. The two sides making their way out onto the field of play now, and Unai Emery's face is a bit like thunder, and so it should be, because quite frankly Aston Villa were very, very poor in the first 45 minutes of the game. It is 2-0 to Tottenham Hotspur at the break. And Aston Villa have got to do a lot of work. No changes at the break for either side. So it is Martinez in goal for Aston Villa with a back four of Cash, Winter, Lindelof, Mings and Maatsen. Tielemans and Bogarde in the middle of the park with three in Rodgers, Barkley and Sancho, with Abrahams at the top of the park. And for Spurs in their all-yellow away kit today, it's Richarlison up front, backed by Kolo Muani, Conor Gallagher and Matisse Tell. Two holding midfielders in Bentancur and Palhinha, and a back four going from right to left of Porro, Danzo, Van der Ven, and of course Destiny Udogie, and Tonin Kinski is in goal. Spurs defend the goal away to my left-hand side in front of the Holt end in this second half, and they've given the ball away, but Tammy Abrahams has it at his feet. Aston Villa have got to find something, and indeed they get their first corner of the game here at the start of the second half away to my left-hand side, and Villa need to find some sort of fight back here because they are second best for everything in the first 45. Referee today is Sam Barrett, and this is the goal away to my left-hand side. It's Kinski that looks out to his left, far side of the pitch. Going to be curled in. Goal away to my left-hand side. Kinski looks, it's taken short this time, and the flag goes up for offside between Jadon Sancho. And that sums up Aston Villa's woeful first half. He played it short and got the pass straight back, and he was offside. It's a little bit dire there from Aston Villa straight away, and it won't be long before they look, you believe, towards their bench, because at the moment Aston Villa fans are very glum, but not as glum as Unai Emery, who will be looking towards his bench. No McGinn on the bench either, in fairness. Offside, goal away to my left-hand side. Kinski about to thwart this ball from my left to my right. Up towards Richarlison, headed away by Bogarde, back towards the halfway line. Barkley helps it on to Abraham. Abraham flicked round the corner, couldn't find Rodgers. Porro, Gallagher, Kolo Muani taking on Maatsen, going to run round the outside of him, gets outside of him, 6 yards away from the dead ball line, away to my right hand side, back to Porro. Porro swings the right foot ball in, headed away by Lindelof, edge of the box, headed back in by Bentancur, out to Matisse Tell on the far side of the pitch, chased out towards that far touchline. Little push there from Cash. Is that a foul? No, says the referee. Matisse Tell was looking for it. Throw to Aston Villa, thrown towards the halfway line. Barker gets a little bit on it, but I honestly believe that you could, if you were Unai Emery, I think his hardest decision might have been at half-time, just who does he take out of the 12 or the 11 that are on the field of play, because quite frankly there's not many that have really upended any trees and made anybody stand to attention. Ball is currently at the feet of Kinski inside the D of his own penalty area, away to the left. Plays it to Danzo. Danzo back to Kinski. Kinski across to Mickey van der Ven. And Mickey van der Ven cross this time into the feet of Kinski. Kinski inside the penalty area. Plays it to Mickey van der Ven. Mickey van der Ven far side of the pitch. Plays it forward. And it's back to Kinski. Kinski thumps the ball out far side. Chance for Mickey van der Ven to try and spin away from Ross Barkley. In the end, he falls to the floor rather easily. A little bit of shirt pulling there. Sees Mickey van der Ven go down. Going to be a free kick to Spurs. Spurs players will be looking to the Aston Villa bench, believe it or not, to see who's coming on. Unusual hairline for Leon Bailey on the far side of the pitch, but Same face for Unai Emery, still frowning. 50 on the clock here at Villa Park. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Goals on 12 minutes by Conor Gallagher, driving in after a header from a long throw into the box. Came out to him 24 yards out. One touch on his left boot, one touch on his right boot, one touch with his right boot again to put it in the bottom corner past Martinez. Ross Barkley this time slides in, is going to get a yellow card for a challenge. Benton Corder goes over to have a word with him. Sam Barrett reaches for his pocket, and it's going to be a yellow card this time. Conor Gallagher from round the side. In fairness to Ross Barkley, he got absolutely nowhere near the ball, and he did find the just below the right knee of Conor Gallagher's leg. So yellow card possibly just about justified there, but it goes into the referee's notebook. One of several players: Rodgers, Sancho, Barkley, Tielemans, Abraham, Maatsen. They could have all have got the shepherd's crook at half time, as we call it over here. Got the hook. Chance again now for Villa to go forward. Abraham through the centre. Can he get onto the ball? What a covering challenge that is by Mickey van der Ven. He's come across just as Abraham thought he's through, and that is real pace from the big man. Mickey van der Ven. What pace. A player that no doubt would be on most people's prime list should he become available. Plays it across this time to Kinski. Kinski out on this near side. Picks up the pass to Paulinho. Paulinho inside the Benton court. Back to Paulinho. Paulinho goes long. Lindelof will get to the ball before Richarlison and turn it into the penalty area where Martinez, in the goal away to my right hand side, takes it to his right and plays the ball out far side to Cash. Cash fires the ball down that touchline on the far side. Sancho tries to get there. Spurs get there first, and ball goes out of play on the far side of the pitch. And it's going to be a throw to Aston Villa. Quite a long way into their own half. Still though, ball goes back to Martinez in the goal away to my right hand side. He ambles out before playing it square, and the ball goes out on the far side. Sancho back to Lindelof. Lindelof inside to Martinez, back out to Lindelof, across to Mings, who puts the ball straight out of play. This is turning into an absolutely dire game for Aston Villa at the moment, and Unai Emery will be feeling a little bit disappointed, to say the least, with his charges application in this game. Okay, Spurs in total control of this game, something you couldn't say under previous managers for Spurs this season. Udogie to Van der Ven. Van der Ven tracked this time by Ross Barkley, plays it all the way back to Kinski. Kinski into the feet of Bentancur, back to Danso, and Danso ambles his way out from the Spurs penalty area away to my left hand side. Paulinho infield. Bentancur tucks it through a lovely little hold of Porro. Porro's beaten to the ball this time by Tielemans. Tielemans is given a foul away. Barrett, Mr. Samuel, decides to have a few words with Yuri Tielemans, and Porro got his body across the ball, which meant that Tielemans had to come round the side. Caught a bit of ball, caught a bit of man. Doesn't really matter. The Belgian international not happy at all. 54 minutes on the clock here. Spurs can seriously put this to bed with one more goal, you fancy. I know 2-0 should be a comfortable scoreline when a side like Aston Villa are performing like Aston Villa. But they are at home, and one goal could stoke quite a comeback here for the villains inside their own barn. Got to be thumped in by Porro. Plays it near side to Kolomwani, back to Porro, back to Kolomwani. First up by Tielemans, who doesn't make contact with the game. Back to Kolomwani, back to Porro, back to Matisse Tellus down the right hand side. Porro again curls a deep ball across the face of the Aston Villa penalty area. Danso keeps it in far side. Paulinho now out to the edge of the box to Conor Gallagher. Gallagher right by the apex of the penalty area, where the side and the top meet on the far side of the pitch for Aston Villa. Gallagher turns it back inside. Played off on this near side to Porro. Porro driving up to the 18-yard box. Fires a shot, this time high and not so handsome, and right over the crossbar of the goal away to my right-hand side. Roberto De Zerbi here, 55 on the clock. Aston Villa trailing by 2-0 against Tottenham Hotspur here at Villa Park. What is going through the heads of the Aston Villa fans? Martinez has the ball from the goal kick up to the penalty spot. He goes in his penalty area away to my right hand side. Plays it out to Cash on the right hand side. Cash faced by Richarlison. Inside it goes to Bogard. Bogard tries to play it forward. Cut out by Bentancur. Ball rolls all the way back to Martinez. Martinez comes out of his goal. 6 yards out of his goal. Outside his penalty area now. Square border Tyrone Mings. Very lethargic Aston Villa side today. Forward into the feet this time in the middle of the park. Down in a heap. Rolling goes Rodgers. But another player that's been totally off the boil for quite some time here. Matson back to Mings. Mings spins, plays into Bogard. Bogard forward into Barkley. Barkley's first touch is a little heavy. Allows Van der Ven to slide in just about on the halfway line. Ball breaks to Gallagher. Gallagher for Spurs. Back to Danzo. And Danzo this time will take his time before picking a pass out to Palhinha. Palhinha back in field. And then Bentancur scurries up and over the halfway line into the Villa Park half of the pitch for Aston Villa. Down that far touchline he goes. Inside it comes from Tell. Into the feet this time of Bentancur. Back to Mickey Van der Ven. Still no change in the urgency from Aston Villa. Unai Emery must be a little bit concerned with what is actually happening to his side out there at the moment, because they're not performing as one would expect. Back to Kinski it goes. Kinski fires long. Udogie tries to get in behind Cash. Cash goes down. Ball goes out of play. It's just not really happening for aside from Aston Villa at the moment. It's just woeful to say the least. Ball is on the far side. Lost again by Villa, played forward. Still, Spurs lead by 2-0. 58 minutes on the clock. Porto comes forward for Spurs to take this throw. That's not a throw, it's actually a corner, deep in this corner on this near side, which is good news for Spurs fans. They're first of the second half. He swung in, goal away to my right hand side. Martinez looks out to his left, right down by the point of my right shoulder here at Villa Park. 58 on the clock. Tell delivers, headed away this time by Bogard, picked up on the edge of the box and scooped back in by Gallagher. Cleared away by Matson, but only to the corner taker Tell, who rifles the ball in off the legs of Matson, but a flag goes up for offside on the near side. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Ollie Watkins is being readied for Aston Villa on the far side of the pitch to try and change the effect of the game here. I said before the game, 3 points for either side is all that matters. Nobody will want to draw. And I did also say that if they were behind with 2 minutes to go, one side don't mind a draw. And I think Aston Villa will be over the moon if they can pick up a point out of this now from 2-0 down. Sancho inside to Bogard. Bogard 6 yards shy of the halfway line. Short pass forward this time into the feet of Rodgers. Rodgers shackled here straight away by Gallagher. Gets the ball back to Tielemans back to Mings, and Mings goes square to Lindelof. Lindelof 12 yards outside his own penalty area, way to my right, back to Mings and back to Lindelof again. Spurs tenacious in their press. Forward this time, spin this time by Rodgers, can't get away, gets a free kick, I think very fortunately there, as he tried to spin away from Danzo. But the first touch was pretty bad. 60 on the clock here, Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Ollie Watkins comes on to replace Tammy Abrahams, who has been, dare I say, largely ineffective in your commentators' eyes in this game. Former Brentford forward on the England hit list as well. Needs to reinvigorate this Aston Villa side, because at the moment it's just not really happening. The one person that makes my brow furrow is Morgan Rogers. Long ball forward to Rogers, cleared and headed away by Danzo. Picked up on the near side by Kolomoani. Short pass to Paulinho. Paulinho tries to flick it down the line, hits the chest of Maatsen, goes out of play, throw to Tottenham Hotspur, midway inside their own half, just down beneath the camera vantage point on this near side. I do have to wonder what is going through the grey cells of Unai Emery, with Villa a shadow of the side that we enjoyed for a long period of time in the Premier League in around Christmas time. Maatsen throws it back to the halfway line, and on the halfway line Mings turns it into the centre circle on the Villa side of the pitch to Lindelof. Lindelof forward into the feet of Sancho, back to Lindelof around the corner, finds Maatsen with a bit of space this time, drives it out to Morgan Rogers level with the 18-yard box, cuts inside Porto, fires a shot in, ricochets off the legs of the covering defensive midfielder João Palhinha, and it's going to be an Aston Villa corner in front of the Holt end, away to my left hand side. Well, can they appease those fans who are very, very animated at the moment? Yuri Tielemans comes near side, so in that goal, Kinsey looks out to his right-hand side, right down by the point of my left shoulder as I gather myself and look to my left-hand side here. It is going to be Yuri Tielemans to whip this in under the crossbar. 62 minutes on the clock. Curls it into the 6-yard box. Palmed away at the back post by Kinski. Going to be picked up by Cash. Cash down to the dead ball line. Pulls it back into the box. Comes out to the edge of the box. Cleared this time. Nice sliding challenge. Played out this time by Tell. Aston Villa thought they should have had a free kick, but it's put back in by Tielemans. Headed away by Paulinho. Paulinho, little layoff this time. Udogi, and now Tell's on the break. Kolomoani driving forward as well. Kolomoani on the football, tries to go square just outside the Aston Villa penalty area. Where to my right, has nothing to his right, and Barkley finds Sancho. Sancho back to Barkley. Barkley now skipping away in the middle of the park of Gallagher. Plays it out to this near side, and it's going to be Watkins. Watkins with two Spurs players down towards the dead ball line. Gallagher wins the ball back and tries to clear his line. Sancho picks up the pieces, finds Tielemans. Tielemans to Barkley. Barkley drags it one way and then the other. What terrific work by João Palhinha that is. Got off the floor to get there and then thrust himself to the floor a little bit. João Palhinha, what a player that was. He was on the floor when he won that challenge. Got up and then won a free kick by just getting his body across Ross Barkley. It just seemed desire. Once knew an ex-Birmingham player, Ian Atkins, from all those years ago, and he always talked about desire in his Birmingham accent for me. Always used to talk about it's who's got the greater desire. And I tell you what, talking about desire at the moment, you have to say that desire is very much in the Spurs' bodies at the moment. They're 2 goals to the good. 63 minutes on the clock here. They looked and have been rarely threatened to this point. For the first 63 minutes, I would have to say Anthony Kinski has had very little to even think about in the Spurs goal. But he's currently in front of the Holt end away to my left-hand side. Maatsen gets the ball from Mings. Maatsen drives forward, steps inside one, shows too much of the football. Paulinho ties up again. Gallagher hooks it out to Porto. Porto through the legs of Maatsen, finds Kolomoani. Good win back by Lamar Bogard. Little layoff by Watkins. Watkins to Rogers. Rogers tries to get away from Paulinho. Driving forward now Rogers. Rogers up to the edge of the box, cutting across to his right foot. Fires a shot in. Blocked again, this time by the covering midfielder Bentancur. Spurs pick up the pieces and play it near side, and Roland Kolomoani gets away from Ollie Watkins, who has a little too much arm on him, and down he goes into a heap, and will take every second he can to get back on his feet. What a desperate performance from Aston Villa in front of their own fans. Just sums up how the wobbling wheels of the wagon have been going since that terrific run of 13 wins in 15. Those parabolic graphs of going up and down. They're the peak in and around Christmas time, and the trough has come at the wrong time. They are chasing a European semi-final. Currently down Rodrigo Bentancur in the middle of the park. But we're on to 65 minutes, and it's Aston Villa 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Goal scored on 12 minutes. A long throw into the box, headed out to 24 yards out. Gallagher brought it down on the instep of his right boot before firing it then with his right boot into the bottom right-hand corner of Martinez's net in front of the Holt end for 1-0. Just some 13 minutes later, Matisse Tell's cross came into the box. Richarlison got in between Lindelof and Matty Cash and buried a header from 7 yards for 2-0. Spurs fans in absolute raptures. But the Aston Villa hierarchy will want to know, well, like most of us, why there is this Jekyll and Hyde performance in the Aston Villa squad at the moment. Sublime to the ridiculous could be the phrase that is used. Just so strange. Bentancur making his way off to the side of the pitch. I'm not sure whether he's going to be substituted or not. Seems to be taking a few plaudits from players on his way to the sidelines. For now, we're just waiting to see. There is a change coming. And the change is Yves Bissouma, who is coming on to replace Rodrigo Bentancur. Fourth official says you can now go on. You've got to go back off to go back on again. And Roland Kolo Muani is going to be replaced as well by, I would say, Jed Spence. Kolo Muani waving at the Spurs fans as he wanders along the touchline on this near side. High-fiving near enough everyone down at the front against the advertising hoardings here. All the way around he goes. He's trying to stir up the fans and doesn't need to, in fairness, because they're 2 goals to the good in a really, really difficult situation away at a side in the top 5 of the Premier League. Still, he high-fives fans as he goes around the side of the pitch. Ball's back in play. Kinski goal away to my left. Thumps it long towards Richarlison. Headed away by Mings. Halfway line. Win by Sancho. Sancho inside tries to pick out the pass to Bogard. Ball has got away from Richarlison. Good work by Richarlison. Far side of the pitch now. Matisse Tell sees Udogie play it inside to Richarlison. Richarlison playing in midfield at the moment. Twisting and turning. Being hounded all the time on the far side. And in the end, Bogard gets the ball away from him, but out on the far side in front of the technical areas for a throw to Tottenham Hotspur. Roberto De Zerbi gets the ball back. He must be enjoying this game. For long spells in his previous games, only been in charge for a few. Didn't look as though they were ever going to pick up a point. But now they're on the chance of 3 points and never looked as though they've been really rattled in a side in Aston Villa. Lindelof wins the ball away from Richarlison, far side of the pitch, but it could be a throw to Aston Villa. I should say Aston Villa, because the players popped up there in front of my eyes. Lindelof, but I would have to say it's going to be a throw to Spurs, level with the Aston Villa penalty area. Unai Emery must wonder what he faces here. Udogie with the throw. That's the throw in the corner. These are dangerous times now. Throws it deep to the dead ball line. Richarlison volleys it back against the arm of Cash. Cash clips the ball forward. Palhinha heads it back out to Udogie. These are desperate times now for Spurs because they're 2 goals to the good, and you know they're in a precarious position at the foot of the Premier League, and they will now be thinking, do we hang on to what we've got? Do we start getting deeper? And do Aston Villa then profit from the fact that Spurs lack a little bit more fortitude to go forward and revel in the space given to them? Well, at the moment it's Mings just on the edge of his own penalty area. Back to Lindelof. Lindelof now stops the ball, rolls it back to Martinez, and Martinez comes to the edge of his penalty area away to my right hand side as I face the pitch. Holt end away to my left. Martinez smites a right-footed ball up over the top looking for Watkins. Watkins will get the ball down. Flag will now go up on the far side. He broke in behind Kevin Danso. Flag flutters finally on the far side of the pitch. Everything that Aston Villa have tried today, and they haven't tried much in fairness, has been pretty poor, pretty dour, pretty tepid, pretty turgid. And Spurs have just been by far the better side. And Aston Villa, as I say, have produced one of their Jekyll and Hyde performances. Headed away by Martins, the ball comes forward. Gallagher picks up the pieces, comes out on this near touchline, stops it, rolls it back into the feet of Porro. Porro back this time to Palhinha. Palhinha, my man of the match by a country mile for Spurs. Back to Danso. Danso 5 yards inside the Aston Villa half. Goes square to Van de Ven. Van der Ven with that mighty sliding challenge on Tammy Abrahams in the second half, but whether that had manifested itself in a decent shot the way Aston Villa were playing today, you'd have to say possibly not. That it didn't, because Van der Ven showed great pace and great authority to get back and slide in and stop it. Gallagher turns it round the corner, Maatsen puts it out of play, and again it's going to be the first touch for Jed Spence, who's going to take a throw 12 yards inside the Aston Villa half, which is to the right of the halfway line. It's a very, very impassive looking Unai Emery. Thrown by Porro to Palhinha. Volleys it off his own thigh trap. And in the end it bounces harmlessly to Martinez. Martinez to Mings. Mings 2 yards outside his own penalty area. Plays it square along the 18-yard box of Aston Villa. Away to my right to Lindelof. Lindelof up to Barkley. Barkley around the corner to Sancho. Too close this time. Cleared by Udogie. Matisse Tell gets onto the football, back to Udogie, inside it goes to Bissouma. Bissouma plays the ball back to Palhinha again, he turns it back to Antonin Kinski. Kinski plays it out far side. Spurs looking like a side in the top 5 and not the bottom 3, but they've lost it now in the middle of the park. Ollie Watkins 25 yards out, fires a shot in, blocked by Gallagher. Ball ricochets this time to Sancho, crosses it in, headed away by his own penalty spot in his own penalty area by Spurs' Danzo. Richarlison back down the side of his own 18-yard box, trying to twist away from 2. Backheels it straight to Sancho. Sancho tries to get forward. Palhinha blocks it, goes back, cross across the face of goal. Villa can't profit, and it runs out of play at the back post, looking for Ollie Watkins this time from Tielemans. First time there's been a little bit of consternation inside that Spurs penalty area, but most of that was caused by their own inability to clear their own football. Still, though, 72 minutes now we're into. Just 18 regulation minutes to go. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Gallagher on 12, Richarlison on 25. The Spurs have just been in complete control of a very, very poor performance from Aston Villa at home. Danzo down the line. Spence inside to Gallagher. Goes back and gets the return. He's now away from Maatsen. Spence driving towards the penalty area. Villa away to my right-hand side. Stops the ball just inside. Maatsen's got goal side again. Support coming from Gallagher. Gallagher back to Jed Spence. Spence steps back onto his left foot inside the box. Fires a shot low and it just grazes outside the post of Martinez's left post. Flags up on his near side. Wouldn't have counted, but I tell you what, again, Spurs look as though they could score goals and Aston Villa look as though they can concede them, if I'm being totally honest with you. Not too sure Spence was offside there. I think when I've looked at that on the slow motion replay afforded to us on our replay monitors here at Premier League grounds, I'm not too sure that was indeed going to be offside. Lindelof to Cash back to Lindelof. It's 4 or 5 yards outside his own penalty area, away to my right hand side. Lindelof threw a hole into the feet, this time in the middle of the park to Rodgers. Rodgers trying to run out to the right hand side, got 3 around him and 3 yellow players get the ball away from him. Danzo was the last one there. Been quite a solid player. Going to be a yellow card this time for Kevin Danzo. Sam Barrett issues the card. Rodgers been right on the periphery of so many games recently. I know, rumoured to be going off to maybe Manchester United or somewhere in the summer. Many suitors will be looking for him. But I do have to say that his form has tailed off somewhat at the back end of the season. Mings to Maatsen. Maatsen back to the halfway line from midway inside to Spurs half to Mings. Mings forward to Barkley. Barkley touch, turns inside to Tielemans. Back to Mings. Mings back to Lindelof. 4 yards inside the Villa half. Up to the halfway line. Straight ball up to Barkley. Barkley's got to do it all himself. Manages to keep 2 at bay and get the ball back to Mings. Mings out to Maatsen. Maatsen now. Left foot cross into the box. Not a bad looking ball in. Danzo's there to head the ball away before Rodgers can get onto it. It goes away for a corner here. Aston Villa get their 3rd corner of this second half. 74th minute of the game has almost elapsed. We're almost into the 75th. Tielemans near side. Goal away to my left hand side. Kinski looks out to his right hand side, right down by the point of my left shoulder. Tielemans in front of the Hulk, goes low to the front post. It's cleared rather easy back to Tielemans. Tielemans again, another option, goes onto his right foot, tries to play it in again. Good block this time by Porro. Tries to play it past Porro again. Porro's done really well. Maatsen is battling well now. Porro plays it against the legs of Maatsen and gets a throw. And look at that celebration for a throw in down by your own 18-yard box. Pedro Porro, take a boo. 75 on the clock. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. And where has this fight been for much of the season? Quality from Spurs today. They won't believe that. There's been a lot of fans that maybe didn't make the trip to Villa Park today, thinking foregone conclusion. But Spurs 2-0 up here at Villa. They've got Leeds at home next. They could take a massive step towards Premier League safety. No side has gone down with 40 points since 2002-2003. They haven't got 40 points, I know that, but a win today and a win against Leeds, and that 40 points is infinitely gettable. Far side of the pitch, good work by Tell. Tell flicks the ball back on the far side and driving down that right-hand side of Villa's rear guard, blocked by Matty Cash, was Richarlison, throw to Spurs. Roberto De Zerbi tries to get his troops more and more up to their task for the rest of this game. Thrown into the corner to Richarlison. Richarlison trying to get away from Cash. Takes the ball out of play over on that far side, just by the tunnel. Unusual tunnel position for teams coming on and off the field of play here at Villa Park. Sort of 3/4 away from the halfway line to the goal line away on the far side of the pitch. Unai Emery never looks happy, but he also looks resigned, if that makes sense, as to, you know, how does he change his performance. He's not made too many changes in terms of personnel, but it's been the same mixing up of the troops with the same sort of performance. Tielemans, normally the string puller for Aston Villa, has been very, very limited. He twists and turns and goes for a long ball over the top, looking this time for the run of Rodgers. Rodgers will get there, but facing his near touchline. Porto comes across, played off the feet of Porto. No, Morgan Rodgers thinks it was, but goes away for a goal kick, and a yellow card is given to Morgan Rodgers of Aston Villa. Aston Villa will stay in 5th place in the Premier League. With a point they could go into 4th. But Bournemouth are some 6 points behind them with 3 games to play. Kinski, very poor ball there. That's just the mistakes that you don't want to see. And Anton Kinski has put the ball straight out of play on this near side. Villa need to pounce on any little mistakes or any little loopholes here if they're to do anything. But Martson throws the ball back into the feet of Mings. Mings square, infield back towards the centre spot when Lindelof will play it out to Cash. Cash down that far touchline to Sancho. Sancho again, another one of those with Rodgers and Barkley that have been just about on the periphery of this game all through the game. Halfway line, Mings plays it near side to Martson. Martson now beyond Porto into the feet of Rodgers. Rodgers, though, absolutely turned inside out and defeated very quickly by Danzo. Danzo gets it to Porto. Gallagher to Spence. Spence back to Porto. Villa try and get the ball back, but it goes out of play. I don't want to use the word horror show, but just as a commentator, and I have no bias to either side here, I expected so much more from Aston Villa. I just expected so much more from Unai Emery's side. And I expected Spurs to have to come here to battle with everything they've got. They've been very much on the front foot from start to finish, and they're 2 goals to the good, and well deservedly so. And in fairness, Antonin Kinski has had to do very, very little in terms of saving the ball. In fact, I can't remember a real shot in anger from Aston Villa in this so far. 79 minutes of the game. We're into the 79th minute. Barkley comes up to the halfway line. Knocks it to one side to Mings. Mings out on the near side of Rodgers, inside to Martson. Martson flattened, I thought, by Paulinho. Indeed, it was a foul. Paulinho laughs while he sat on the floor. And it's going to be a free kick now to Aston Villa, about 12 yards inside the half of Tottenham Hotspur. Chance for Aston Villa to just put it in the nicest possible way, lump it straight into the penalty area here. Cheap free kicks from different positions and not the way to play the ball, but Tielemans spots the ball down. 80 on the clock here. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2 apologies there. Brain didn't engage quick enough. Tielemans to deliver this into the penalty area. Goes right across the penalty area to Cash. Cash gets the ball down. Foul has been given in the penalty area. Udogie was upended by Tyrone Mings, who looks at the referee and virtually laughs in his face, and then looks at the floor at the same time. Just have to say, the referee just turned round at the right time and saw Udogie just grappled with by Tyrone Mings. Leon Bailey and Emiliano Buendia, they are all making their way onto the field of play very shortly for Aston Villa. And the Aston Villa fans are making their way at the exits because they've seen enough. They have got that feeling in their loins that they could be here until a week on Tuesday and still not score. They've not fashioned any real chances in this game whatsoever, and it will be a comeback akin to Lazarus for me, for them to do anything and anything in this game, because they've got to find some spark, and a spark very, very quickly. Mings to Barkley, Barkley to Matson, Matson back to Mings on the edge of his own penalty area. Back it goes this time to Martinez. Martinez forward to the edge of the box. Little spin and turn by Bogard. Toes it forward along the floor into the feet of Tielemans. Tielemans up to Watkins. Watkins being held up by Danzo. Tries to get away from Danzo. Foul has been given midway inside the half, and Danzo this time a little too hands-on for Ollie Watkins, who got his body across the ball, and then as he tried to manoeuvre the ball, it's a double arm round the midriff of Ollie Watkins, who's held back at every given opportunity. And free kick ensues to Aston Villa. We're into the 82nd minute. Danzo goes into the referee's notebook. Mings and Danzo have a few words as they come together, but I don't think there's too much of an issue here. Rodgers and Tielemans stand over the ball. It's quite some distance out here. Spurs on the edge of their 18 with their defensive line. Very central as Kinski looks out of his goal. Taken short by Tielemans to Rodgers. Rodgers to Cash. Back to Rodgers. Rodgers tries to turn it around the corner. Cut out by Tell. Tell finds Spence. Spence finds Basuma. Basuma back out on the far side. And a break forward here by Spurs. Udogie back to the halfway line. Back to Palhinha. Palhinha to Mickey van der Ven. 18 yards inside his own half. Spurs now know if they have the football. Sounds rather trite to say it, but there's no way that Aston Villa can score a goal. Jed Spence taken on 2. Cleared by Morgan Rodgers. And it goes for a corner. Morgan Rodgers holds his face in disbelief, but that is the best bit of kidology I have ever seen from a player, because it was clearly off the foot of Morgan Rodgers. He tried the authoritative arm up just to wave at it and say that this was always going to be a goal kick. And Pedro Porro comes forward for the Spurs corner. Goal away to my right-hand side. Martinez looks out to his left-hand side, right down by my right shoulder as I sit in this corner of the ground, peering down. Aston Villa 0, Spurs 2, 84th minute of the game. What a result this will be for Tottenham Hotspur and their fans that have travelled here from the former White Hart Lane. Porto to deliver this corner, swings it to the penalty spot. Good header goalwards, this time by Danzo, caught safely under his crossbar by Martinez, who tries to make his way to the edge of the 18-yard box and flails the ball forward, headed away by Tottenham's rear guard. And Aston Villa have got the ball back under control, but they're still well inside their own half, which is to the right of the halfway line. Villa defend the goal away to my right, attack the goal away to my left. Tielemans flips the ball out down the right-hand side, looking for Sancho. Forgot he was even on the field of play. Rodgers is over there, gets outside of his man, breaks down towards the dead ball line in front of the hold end. Tries to get the ball across, blocked this time by the returning Ias Basuma. Going to be a corner to Aston Villa. They had none in the first half, they got 4 in the second half. Time edging away here at Villa Park for their run. They need to find something and need to find something quickly, and they haven't found anything in the first 85 minutes of the game. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Tielemans, goal away to my left-hand side. Going to sweep this ball into the box, headed away by Richarlison, scoring for the second goal for Spurs on 25 from a Matisse Tell cross. Cash gets the ball out again. Tielemans trying to get down to the dead ball line in front of the hold end. Again, Spurs tenacious. They win the ball back. Matthew Cash wins it back, but it balloons off his legs away to my left-hand side and out of play for a goal kick to Spurs. Buendia and Bailey about to come on for Ross Barkley, who's going to go off to be replaced by Emi Buendia, and it will have to spark some furious work. I think the other one is Jadon Sancho's gone off to be replaced by Leon Bailey. Questions will be asked with the ability of, well, it could have been Morgan Rogers as well, but I think Morgan Rogers is felt by players and management alike and the fans inside Villa Park as maybe has something in his locker, but very flat performance for the last few weeks from Morgan Rogers. Long ball forward, Spence tries to get the ball down, Matson turns it to Mings gets it inside, Buendia gets his first touch, good sliding challenge comes in by Spence, Gallagher toes the ball away on this near side for a throw to Aston Villa, midway side to Spurs half. Matson near side underneath the camera vantage point on this near side stand, throws it back to Mings the Merciless. Mings in towards the centre spot where coming forward Lindelof 12 yards, 15 yards, plays it out to Matt Cash on the far side. Cash comes in field, pirouettes away from Matisse Tell. We'll go back to Victor Lindelof though. Lindelof now 4, 5, 6 yards inside the half of Spurs, which is to the left of the halfway line, goes square to the left side of centre half. Mings out to the left back. Matson midway inside the Spurs half, tries to break forward, a little give and go with Rogers. Matson tries to run in behind Poto. Poto gets back, Rogers takes over, he's tiptoed into the box, ball breaks across the face of the 18-yard box of Spurs, but it's cleared by Destiny Udogie into the half of Aston Villa, away to the right of the halfway line. Mings picks up the pieces, up to the halfway line he goes, facing the Holt end away to my left-hand side, plays it square this time to Lindelof. Lindelof back to Mings, still on the halfway line. Now across to the left to Tielemans further out to the left back. Matson's got to try and take on Poto. Poto gets the ball out of play for a throw. Matson takes it quickly for Villa, flicked off by Rogers to Tielemans back in field to Mings 8 yards inside the half of Spurs, plays it out to the right side of centre half. Lindelof forward to Bailey turns, slips in the run for Buendia, great covering back there by Van der Ven, just shoulder to shoulder with Buendia. Ball goes out of play for a goal kick, this time to Tottenham Hotspur, as we go edging ever closer and into the 88th minute of the game. 88 minutes, these Villa fans have suffered a woeful, inept, turgid, tepid performance from their side. It's not been good enough from start to finish from Aston Villa. Yes, they want to chase European football next year. Yes, they may well get European football next year via winning the Conference League, winning the Europa League, or winning a spot in the top 6 of the Premier League, but it's really not that good at all, this performance. And it's really since, I would say, January, February, it's been very in and out form from Aston Villa under Unai Emery. Maybe a change in the offing in the summer in terms of personnel. Cash to Bailey on the halfway line in front of technical errors on the far side of the pitch. Back it goes to Lindelof. Spurs have got a couple lined up to come on to waste a few minutes of injury time, you fancy, as we see Tielemans play the ball back to Mings across to Cash out on the far side to Bailey with a chance to run now at Udogie. Down the side of the Spurs penalty area goes. Tiptoes almost past two. He's now facing the corner flag on the far side. Ball goes out of play. Looks like it could be a throw. Deep into Tottenham territory on the far side of the pitch, or is it going to be a corner? Couldn't see where the flag went. It's Leon Bailey for a corner to Aston Villa, their 5th of the second half. Goal away to my left-hand side. Kinski looks out to his right, furthest corner away. Is it a consolation? It's a little too late if the ball goes into the back of the net. Yeah, massive, that is. Bailey delivers in towards the front post. Oh, Mings heads it up and over. Best chance Aston Villa have had in the whole game. Front post headed up and over by Tyrone Mings. Managed to get away from Van der Ven and Richarlison. Just at the front post. Got a good head on it. I think it just looped off his head and his shoulder almost up and over the crossbar of Antonin Kinski. He's down on the floor holding his left kneecap, but the Spurs fans continue to sing in the stand along to my right hand side. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. We're into the 90th minute. The Villa Park seats now becoming more a sea of sky blue as most of them head to the exits. Most of them could have headed to the exits just after the first half. In fairness, it's been a lacklustre performance from Aston Villa from start to finish. Changes will be made now. Richarlison is going to go off. Bergvall is coming on. Richarlison is down. Being stretched out, but it's just a few more seconds to go until we find out how long will be added on at the end of the 90 here. Spurs ready to make those two substitutions. Richarlison hobbles off behind the goal away to my left hand side. Looks as though he's holding just above his right hip. Pape Matar is on, and so is Bergvall. 5 additional minutes to be added on. Hope springs eternal for Aston Villa. Really can't see it making any difference. The first 90 minutes have been soporific from Aston Villa here in their own patch. First goal coming on 12 minutes. Long throw into the box, headed out, 24 yards out. Gallagher brought it down on the instep of his right boot, took it away from the on-rushing Tammy Abrahams, and then with a second touch drilled a shot low into the bottom right hand corner of Martinez's net, fully from 24 yards for 1-0. That was doubled when Richarlison got his 10th Premier League goal of the season with a header from a Matisse Tell cross on 25. Let's talk about the Aston Villa chances. Silence reigns. There's been very little as Cash tries to drive forward on the far side of the pitch. We're into the 92nd minute of a minimum of 5 to be added on. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. Penny for Unai Emery's thoughts at the moment. Really, exactly what does he think at the moment? Where has this indifferent run of form come from? Did say when that it sort of cracked that he had eyes looking at a Championship or a Premier League chasing the title, but since then it's been very indifferent and inconsistent form from the Villains, and it's been a pretty poor performance today, to say the least. Whether they have one eye on the second leg against Nottingham Forest here at Villa Park next Thursday, I don't know. But if they play like that, if they play like they have done today, Nottingham Forest have got nothing to worry about under Vitor Pereira. Cash far side of the pitch, turns in. This will take Tottenham Hotspur a point clear of West Ham in the drop zone. 2 points behind Nottingham Forest. Those three are in all sorts of trouble. Spurs with Leeds at home, Chelsea away and Everton at home. They'll be looking at those two home matches and thinking to themselves, we need 6 points from those. And a bonus if they get anything against one of their bogey sides in the shape of Chelsea, because Chelsea have been indifferent to say the least. Villa have the ball on the halfway line in Tyrone Mings. We're into the almost the 95th minute here. Certainly in the 93rd. Down the line from Cash to Bailey. Bailey almost back to the halfway line, being trapped by Bergvall. Goes for a right to left ball. We'll find Rodgers. Rodgers brings the ball down. Has to run outside of Spence. Down to the dead ball line he goes. Little back heel, hits the legs of Apollo. Falls nicely for the Spurs man. He then clears the ball up to the halfway line from my left to my right. Mings wanders back into the 94th minute we go. 30 seconds left of the 94th minute as Mings plays it square to Lindelof. Lindelof 15 yards inside his own half. Remember, Aston Villa started the day in 5th place in the Premier League. Spurs started the day in the 3rd relegation spot in the Premier League. It has been a performance that hasn't matched those lofty ambitions of the two sides. Spurs have been tenacious and much the better side. Conor Gallagher 24 yards out, first goal on 12 minutes, ahead by Richarlison for the second goal. Aston Villa have looked like a bottom three side today at home. They've fashioned very, very little, while Spurs have been up to the task all day long. And goes into the middle of the park. A deflection. Sam Barrett has seen something. He's going to pull things up. Got about 45 seconds left to play in this game. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. The Spurs fan are going to party all the way down the bank holiday weekend back to the capital. Whilst Aston Villa fans are going to go home and pretty much look very introspectively at themselves and wonder exactly what is going on with their side. These Jekyll and Hyde performances, the inconsistent performances, are just not helping them at all. Martinez smites a long ball forward from my right to my left. Headed away this time on the near side by Porto. Rodgers being tracked all the time by Spence. Drags Spence across. Spence drags him back, and it's going to be a foul to Aston Villa. 6 yards inside the Spurs half. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 2. We're into the 96th minute. Conor Gallagher delays the restart and gets a yellow card. Near side of the pitch, Matson fires the ball into Buendia. Buendia down by the dead ball line in front of a rapidly emptying Holt end away to my left-hand side. Into the 96th minute we go. All eyes on Sam Barrett. Tielemans to Lindelof. Lindelof to Bailey. Bailey out on the far side. Cash, can he get the ball in for one final thrust? In it goes, glancing header into the back of the net by Emiliano Buendia on 96 minutes. That is 2-1. Aston Villa get a goal back on 96 by Buendia. A little too late. I think it's their first effort on goal. Crossing by Cash, glanced in across the face. A goal by Emiliano Buendia. A little too late. We're in time, added on at the end of the time to be added on. Buendia getting up above Mickey van der Ven and glancing the ball into the back of the net. But can Aston Villa fashion one more opportunity? The answer to that, you fancy, could be no. Spurs about to take the kick-off. Roll the ball back to their keeper Kinski, whose first job in the game was to just pick the ball out of the back of the net after 96 minutes. Long ball forward. Mings brings the ball down. Rodgers near side. Stabs the ball back to Martson. Martson tries to turn away from Spence. Doesn't turn away from Spence. Final whistle goes here. It's finished here. Aston Villa 1, Tottenham 2, 3. Massive points for Tottenham Hotspur in their quest for Premier League safety, and a woeful performance from Aston Villa, although they scored late on. Gallagher after 12, Richarlison after 25. Spurs kept Villa at bay right until the 96th minute when Buendia got a stoppage time consolation goal. Finisher at Villa Park. Aston Villa 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2.